Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Apple Box Chronicles. My name is Peyton Buteau.
And I'm Adryon Thomas.
And today on the ABCs, we're taking you from A to Z on two recent horror movie kind of remakes, kind of reimaginings. That's kind of why we pair them together. We're talking about the brand new Faces of Death, as you can see, and we're also talking about Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Two directors that I think are really exciting, that are kind of newer on the scene, I guess, in recent years in terms of horror. The first film from Daniel Goldhaber, I believe is his name, the director of Faces of Death, was not really a horror movie.
No,
it's more of a thriller.
Yeah, this is different than what they've done before. Because they did a movie called Cam, which is kind of like a thriller movie, but I don't know if it was a horror movie. I haven't seen it. But that was the one they did before How to Blow Up a Pipeline. And I never saw How to Blow Up a Pipeline, so I hear it was really good, and I really wanted to watch it. I just haven't seen it.
And I did see that movie, and it is really good. And I think the promise that shows is it has its own kind of, like, I guess, texture to it. I think both of these movies, Faces of Death and that one, are shot on film. They look great. I think he is really, like, the editing in both movies really stand out. And also, just the fact that How to Blow Up a Pipeline is a very, like, Gen Z movie with there's a lot of social media stuff in that movie. Like, one of the guys who they get to do the job with them is, like, on Boom Talk or whatever. Like,
Boom Talk?
Yeah, like, he blows stuff up online and, like, shows it off. So like, that's like, I think that's like one of the things that he shows. So this kind of feels natural for him to kind of shift gears into this more straight up, like, meta slasher kind of movie where you're also using social media.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting whenever they said that they were going to remake or do some kind of reimagining of Faces of Death, because you haven't seen the original, but I've seen the original, and you can't remake that movie. There's no way. Because, first of all, it's not really even a movie. It's more like a Mondo documentary where there's like a dude that basically narrates the entire time, and you go to different vignettes of different situations of people dying or around death, or is something related to death, and it's either fake, it's not real, there's like just fake deaths on screen, or I think there was like maybe one or two moments where you do see real dead bodies.
There's also like some animal cruelty in that
film. There's also like they kill a monkey and maybe a few others. It has been a while since I've seen it, but it's like one of those movies where for a while it was hard to find. You could only really get it on like VHS, and and there was like the whole conspiracy around whether or not there was actual snuff in it, like there was real murders and death and whatnot. But I think most of it's fake, and maybe there might be some real like dead people on screen, but I don't think you ever see anybody actually die on screen. It's kind of a weird one to recommend. I think most people wouldn't really want to watch the movie. It is a very weird Mondo type film. Only the real weird nasty freaks out there will like that movie.
The thing is like, it's so funny because in this movie the character is looking for the movie, because like basically the plot is that the serial killer is remaking Faces of Death by posting online with audio clips from Faces of Death and recreating the deaths, but actually killing people. It's a really interesting, cool concept for a remake. But basically, to find the movie, the original movie, she's like, oh, it's only available on VHS. My roommate has it, of course, because he has a physical media collection. Yeah. And and he's obsessed with horror movies. So I just think that's so
physical
fun.
Media.
Yeah, because we got that's what I would do. Yeah, I would be like, we have to have that somewhere, right? So I thought that was fun.
They actually just re-released it, I think, on 4K for Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah,
I spotted The Sixth Sense too in that VHS collection. That was cool.
I really want to just I want to go back,
just pause
and
it.
pause it and just kind of see what he's got going on in there.
Yeah. And then there's also Evil Dead Rise, Lee Cronin's previous film, which we both have seen, and I really like that one. I think it's a really fun Evil Dead movie.
I just wanted to mention, because it's called Lee Cronin's The Mummy, and I just find it so funny and interesting that they had to do that, because you can't call it The Mummy, because you're going to confuse everybody, because they're just going to think it's either related to the Tom Cruise movie, which came out like
2017.
Almost a decade ago, and nobody liked that movie. Or you're going to think it's like a part of the Stephen Sommers, Brendan Fraser Mummy movies, which it's not a part of that either.
Yeah, they should have just called it Mummy. Drop the. It's cleaner.
I think it would still confuse people. I think this is really just going back to not even the basics or the roots, but just kind of putting a different spin on the whole mummy creature thing. But also, I guess, taking it back to the roots of it being like pure straight horror rather than like an adventure film.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely get the choice, and it's also very Lee Cronin. Like, he's really put a stamp out there that this is what his style is. He's gonna spam split diopter shots. He's gonna be gross. He's gonna be up close with everything.
Yeah.
And this is a lot of the same devices he used in Evil Dead Rise, and they're just kind of amplified in this movie, I feel.
I feel like if you like Evil Dead Rise, then... Is it Rise or Rises?
It's Rise.
Then you're going to like The Mummy.
Oh, definitely.
And if you didn't like Evil Dead Rise, then you're just not going to like The Mummy.
Yeah, it's like that, but like more. It's more indulgent in those things. And I mean... Maybe you'll like the story of the mummy better. Maybe you'll like the fusing of the Egyptian setting and putting that all together, because I feel like that is one of the more well executed and standout things about the movie as well. But let's just, before we get off track, let's talk about Faces of Death. Let's dive into that movie first, and then we'll come back to the mummy. So
should we just go into spoilers and everything?
We should. I guess that's a good note to end on. So, like, we recommend you go check these movies out.
Yeah.
We like them. Go see them. They're a good time. Go see Faces of Death late at night. I think it's a perfect midnighter
really fun movie. Yeah.
The Mummy,
and watch The Mummy really early in the morning.
Yeah, it's a little more of a day starter. Drink a mimosa, watch The Mummy, a mimosa, if you will.
Yeah.
Also, my friend is watching The Mummy right now. It's 10 a.m. Over in Rhode Island, my friend is watching The Mummy at this moment.
Nice.
So, and she was like, nobody else is in this movie with me.
Yeah, no, it's... We're kind of kidding around about watching it early. It is a gross movie.
Yeah. But honestly, it's a long one. So, start your day with it. I think it could be fun.
Yeah.
Get a coffee or something. Maybe don't eat too much during it, because it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Anyway, watch both of these films. And spoilers ahead for both of them, so come back once you've seen them. You can watch... If you've seen Faces of Death only, you can watch this part, because we're only going to talk about that. Anyway... Let's dive in. So,
you said that Faces of Death is like a mix between the recent Anaconda movie with Scream.
So basically what I love about this movie is it is doing the meta remake, which is not something we haven't seen done before.
Yeah.
We also see meta slashers like Scream, and this is a meta slasher remake. And basically... It reminded me of the Anaconda one, because if you guys don't know, the Anaconda remake, it's a brilliant film. We love it.
It's so fun.
You were just watching it yesterday.
Yeah.
And
I just put it on.
Yeah, I came home. He's watching Anaconda.
I was eating, and I was like, I just want to put something on when I'm eating. So
it's so good. It's so fun. Like, I don't understand. Tom Gormican, meta comedy auteur. Tom Gormican.
He's really
made
is.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Like, if he just puts one of those out every few years, I'm gonna watch him.
Yeah.
But basically, the Anaconda remake is the characters in that film are going to remake Anaconda, and then they encounter a real snake. So it is like the best version of an Anaconda remake, because Anaconda's a little more niche than what you usually see remade. So they're able to take a little more creative path to remaking it, where because in Anaconda they're going to make a film and they encounter a snake. So why not in the Anaconda remake have them go to make the remake of Anaconda?
Yeah.
And then they encounter a snake. That's very fun. In Faces of Death, it is like a guy saying, "Okay, I'm going to remake Faces of Death." Like he's actually trying to remake Faces of Death. And then you have the final girl, kind of a hero character played by Barbie Ferreira, who is living in this like meta slasher that's very like all the social commentary is there, and she's very engaged with the social media stuff. And so it's like you have the hero living in a Scream movie trying to figure out who this killer is that's obsessed with a movie. Yeah. Right? So that's very Scream.
Yeah.
But then you have the villain who's remaking a movie, and you get a lot of his perspective balancing it out. So if you were to make a movie like this and only focus on the villain's perspective, it would feel a lot like the Anaconda reboot. But if you were to only focus on her, it would be a Scream movie. So having it be both, it's like you're watching these two kinds of meta films like kind of clashing and kind of communicating with each other. And that, to me, is really cool.
Yeah, no, when I saw it initially, I was like, this is like if Brian De Palma directed a Scream movie, but it also had to be a remake of Faces of Death.
Yeah.
Which is also, I feel like the more niche the movie becomes and the studio wants to remake it, the more meta you have to go with it, because it's so niche.
If you were just straightforward, you can't just make Faces of Death.
Yeah, you can't just make Faces of Death. You, like, the whole, the fascinating thing about the movie was, like, there could be, like, real people dead in the movie. You can't just go out and kill people. Then you become the killer from Faces of Death, making Faces of Death.
In this case, I think the movie is arguing that maybe you can, as long as you're in the attention economy, and as long as you're like he said, he's like, if it's a remake, you can get away with murder.
Yeah.
So
which is a great. It's a great little motto that.
It's a great line because it's like if you're remaking it and you're doing it meta, it's like you can do anything you want, because then people can just be like, oh, but that's the point. It's supposed to be. It's an homage to this.
Well, I also found it interesting because I was reading an article about the filmmakers and how it's not like this was something they came up with. The producers of the studio gave it to them. They're like, can you do a remake of Faces of Death? And they were just like, yeah, we could figure out a way to do it. because who's at this point, the studios or big producers, all they really care about is the IP and like what they could sell off of it and what they could get out of it. And at a certain point, they're asking about remaking just almost impossible movies to do. And so they have to find ways around it and figure out a way to tell a compelling story that's also fresh and not completely like shot for shot a remake of another movie that people already like or have like some kind of connection to. But yeah, I feel like this was probably a real challenge to figure out how to even do this movie and make it work. And I think they accomplished what they set out to do. And I think that's why I really like this movie, is because not only do they just find a new way of trying to remake a movie, but it's also really good. I think it looks good. I love both the main. I love Barbie Ferreira and Dacre Montgomery. He's great in it.
Fantastic.
He's such a great, like, insane psychopath in this movie. He's just eating up the scenery.
Oh yeah. He's got these scary red contact lenses.
Yeah.
That are just so fucking creepy.
And there are moments of genuine, like pretty scary moment. Like the idea of someone like basically breaking into your house or like kidnapping you is like pretty scary in the way that he does it. Like he makes it scary for those people. Like just putting in the red contacts and like the face, the mask and everything.
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to scare these people while you're kidnapping them.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Also, Charlie XCX makes a little cameo.
American accent. That's the scariest part of the movie.
I thought it was funny because it. I think I only heard her British accent come out like in one scene.
Yeah, her
But
first scene was fine, but the second scene I was hearing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it took me a second to even like process, because she's kind of like in the back a bit and she's talking, she's like smoking a doobie or something. And I'm like, is that Charlie XCX?
Yeah.
And then she's talking and she has an American accent now, and I was like, wait a second, no, it is.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of funny to see.
It's
her.
really interesting to
Yeah.
cast her, I guess. I mean, if I could have Charlie XCX in my movie, I'd probably want that as well.
Yeah, that was their moment.
Yeah. She had a moment in the film.
Yeah.
It's a movie about a social media moderator who's finding all this stuff, and there's like a lot of interesting commentary going on with that, and how
Speaking of
common-
which, actually, they do have people die in Faces of Death. You see, there some of the early clips of her moderating people dying on screen are people dying on screen.
that's real
Yeah,
footage.
some of them. I think there are like a few clips of people actually dying.
How do you know that?
Because it was the article I read from the New York Times. They were talking about it,
Oh,
which is stuff like
that's the thing is that's wild because you have. I mean, the fact that you can watch that stuff and it is real,
yeah,
and yet you're watching it because it's kind of within the bounds of a movie, like because it's within a movie, you're just like, oh, okay, cool movie about social media. Yeah, this is the kind of shit you see on there sometimes.
Exactly.
It's like that's kind of how
that's
it
how
makes
they were able to get away with it, basically.
Exactly.
Because like if you go on like Twitter right now and you just look up, I don't know, live leaks or like accidents or something, you will find people dying.
I mean, I've been shown that shit against
Yeah.
my will several times.
Yeah, you will find. It's really easy to find basically snuff on the internet.
Yeah. And what's interesting is she's moderating all this content, and most of it she's pretty lenient on.
Yeah.
But the stuff she flags is like actually helpful. It's like, here's how to save someone from dying, or here's how
Yeah.
to put on a condom. Or
It's like here's how to use Narcan, which is like a life-saving thing. Like if you overdose, if you use Narcan, it'll pretty much jumpstart your body up again. But she flags it as drug use, even though it was like a
educational
Yeah.
video. Yeah, it's interesting how that goes. Like,
yeah.
it's like, oh, but nobody's getting spectacle out of that, so it's not useful. And it's not something that means that the main character is like a terrible person who wants to, who doesn't want people to get help or whatever. It's just that, like, it's not malice. It's literally like a subconscious thing within all of us that the serial killer in this movie is kind of exposing, where it's like, you guys want to see nasty shit. Like, that's kind of how this goes. It's like, you're so desensitized that I could literally post my murders.
Yeah,
and nobody will listen to you.
And the interesting thing is that there's always the doubt that it's real or not. You could always say that, oh, it could be fake. It could be.
And you can say that it as a way to kind of shield. You're not only protecting the assailant, but you're also just like shielding yourself from believing that you're seeing actual, stuff. And when you are, that's what makes it really, really scary.
I also found it interesting that they had to make this movie basically a period film because it takes place, I don't remember the exact year, but before AI launched. Because the moment you introduce AI, then there's that real doubt.
Like every character would just be like, that's clearly AI or something.
And it would be really hard to make this movie without
and I could see that dating the film for some people because you watch it now and you're just like, okay, but like, I feel like this would be so different if you. It almost feels like it's like you're kind of making, I could see someone saying that the commentary is kind of diminished by the fact that you're not using all the real life things that apply. You're not adding everything to the conversation, but I mean, I think that removing that element puts more accountability onto us, and ultimately, when it comes to AI as well, the accountability is on human beings to not let that control us and to be in control of the things that we're allowing to be put out and used. Like, that's the whole idea behind this movie. It's even if you take AI out of it, you still have to look at how human beings respond to things like this.
It's like self-moderation now.
Yeah.
It's like now we, the people, have to moderate what we're seeing on our own feed. And if we see AI, I mean, what are you going to do about it?
The thing about the AI thing is, like, AI it is just an even easier scapegoat to be like, that's not real.
Yeah.
So when you take it out of there, it does show how people are still willing to. We are still seeking that excuse. AI just makes it really easy to arrive at that conclusion.
Yeah.
And so I think it's actually better to not have it there, because it kind of like removes, like, we can't even use it as a scapegoat within the film and be like, oh, that was boring because, like, it all could have just been AI. It's like, no, you have to actually sit with what the movie is saying about us and the way that we use the internet. So I don't know. I think it's great.
I liked it a lot. It's like one of those movies in which it's not going to be in like my top 10 of the year or anything.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a movie that I would like even like to own, just to like have and to like put on.
It's a great like little gem of like, let's watch this late night slasher movie.
Sure. I think one of the big reasons why I do like it is because they homage Brian De Palma like so much in this movie, and I just love Brian De Palma, and you could tell because I think the first real indicator was the split screen moment.
Yeah,
it's a huge that's like something Brian De Palma is like known for, because it's really hard to do split screen in movies and make it work, but he was kind of a master at it. And then there was the whole, like, the one shot in which it starts in her room, and then it goes out the window, and then it's on a crane. It goes down to him in the car, and then it follows him all the way up into the that whole long take. That's very much a Brian De Palma like one shot kind of thing, like Snake Eyes or Carlito's Way. And there was like a few moments where there was like Dutch angles where she's like figuring out, and Mission Impossible, I feel like Brian De Palma was just all over this movie. And it's really interesting because when you think of Faces of Death, that's not the person you think of. You just kind of think of other really weird Mondo type films. So I think they really needed something to like really hook onto and latch onto in terms of what kind of tone they wanted this movie to be. And so I think my assumption is that they just wanted to pick a filmmaker in that realm that would work to kind of template how the movie would be. Mm-hmm. And I think they just went with Brian De Palma for some reason. They were just like, that works. He does a lot of movies in which, there's a serial killer or murder, and someone trying to find out who that is, like with Just to Kill or Blowout, or like any of his earlier kind of horror adjacent movies. And I thought this was like just a really cool kind of little homage to Brian De Palma, which I feel like we don't see as much as we used to.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's I think that those kinds of movies, whenever I watch Brian De Palma movies, I'm like, damn, they just
don't make them like
they don't move
yeah.
like this anymore. So this was a nice like welcome addition to see a movie that's currently being made like this that feels a little more like that. Is there split diopter in this? I don't remember.
I think there was. There was at least one.
Yeah, but there's also two other films that kind of do this social media moderation thing that recently come out that I haven't seen. Neither of us have seen.
Yeah.
There's one called American Sweatshop. I think it played at South by last year, and that one's about a moderator. And then there's also Monitor, which is also about a social media moderator. So this is actually interesting. This is an interesting trend that's kind of being born as of late. My friend Nick is in Monitor. All my friends saw Monitor and said it was great. They said it was like a 2008 like throwback horror movie, and that it was really good. And I just had no idea, and I totally missed it. So I would like to see it eventually. It just got purchased.
Okay. By who?
It might have been Shudder.
That makes sense.
But I can't recall.
I believe this is also a Shudder film.
Faces of Death, I think.
I yeah, it might be like
but it's out.
yeah.
Go see it.
Go see it. I feel like I was gonna say one more thing. Oh yeah, I was about the whole content moderation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a coworker about whether or not they were gonna watch this movie, and they're like, "There's too many movies about content moderation." It's like they were burnt out from it, so they didn't want to see this movie because of that.
Yeah, but I feel like this has unique things to offer.
It is.
You
No,
should
it's
definitely
great.
check it out. Only one split diopter shot. That's surprising. You know it has more than one split diopter shot in it?
Lee Cronin's The Mummy?
Lee Cronin's The Mummy. That shit is spammed, bro. He's literally gluttonous with those.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it too. It's awesome. It's just like it's every 30 seconds. Like my friend said, if you drink every time you see one, you'll be the mummy yourself. You'll be that drunk.
Yeah. It's the thing about Lee Cronin's The Mummy, and something I really like about it, is just how it operates visually.
Oh
like,
yeah.
All the really close up shots of like things happening, especially gross things happening. I like that he's not afraid to really get gross with it, and I think some filmmakers are either they're too afraid or they're too afraid of what the audience will get out of it. And Lee Cronin, he just doesn't care. He's like, nah, let's get gross and
let's put some vomit, some blood, some toenails.
Yeah,
just peeling skin, like everything in here is it's just disgusting. And he does it in a much more mean spirited, but like kind of like dirty way.
I thought it was gonna be more mean spirited than it was. It is mean spirited, especially to like one particular character, but in the end, it didn't feel more mean spirited than Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, but he does it. He does that gnarly shit in like a meaner way than like Sam Raimi, who would do it in a more cartoony,
it's more like, oh, that's gross, but it's like funny gross.
But it kind of has a heightened thing to it. Whereas with Lee Cronin, it's like, oh, I vomit feels real, peeling skin feels real, like all that stuff.
And it's great to watch this in 40X because whenever all that stuff happens, you're just getting sprayed.
It was so awesome. I love the 40X on this movie so much, and I wish that I could get everyone to see it that way, because I genuinely think that added like half a star to my rating.
It was fun because like people are getting like, I don't know, blood splattered in their face or like throw up, and you're just getting sprayed as well, and you're just like, oh my god,
it was so good.
oh no.
But that's what Lee Cronin does, is like he has a very aggressive like style that he puts on to his horror films, and I think that his producers just really like him and really like that. I'm glad that like Jason Blum and James Wan were like so on board with that and just making it his own.
Well,
because the thing it's like it's a studio horror film, but it doesn't feel like there's that much interference on that level. Like he wrote and directed the movie, and you get it's like it doesn't feel like he's diluting himself at all.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty ballsy to have an over 2 hour horror movie.
Yeah, 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it
honestly didn't feel long. It didn't feel like it was
actually
dragging
paced
or anything.
Surprisingly well. I thought I was gonna get really bored.
Yeah, it was paced like surprisingly well to me as well. I also wanted to mention that it's produced by Wan, but it also feels like very adjacent to like James Wan.
Yeah,
like,
he's the perfect middle point between Sam Raimi and James Wan.
Yeah, this like where Faces of Death is very much like a Brian De Palma movie. This is almost like a Sam Raimi movie, but like directed by James Wan. It's like a weird mix.
It feels a little bit like a James Wan movie script directed by Sam Raimi.
Maybe,
in a sense. I just think he arrives at this nice happy medium.
Yeah, he's like right
styles.
in between those two.
Because you have the family dynamics that you're used to from studio horror movies, which honestly I thought was one of the weaker parts of the movie.
Yeah.
I just didn't really... I couldn't really sink my teeth into those characters as much as I wanted to.
It is... I think the kind of the weird... I don't know if it's a letdown. Well, it almost feels like this movie is playing up to that American audience because it's a I mean, I guess the mom is Spanish or Mexican.
She's Spanish. The actor is at least Spanish.
But it's Jack Rayner plays an American who's in Egypt for his news job, and usually with a mummy movie, the monster is like a mummy from Egypt, like either like from an ancient part or like it's based in like an Egyptian person.
Mm-hmm.
But in this movie, they're like, no, we're gonna make a little child the mummy, and I think
a
that's
little bit like The Exorcist.
Yeah, and I thought that was like kind of the maybe the pitch of the movie. It's like instead of the classic tall like skeletal like mummy in wraps, it's gonna be a little girl that got kidnapped, and there's something that's really fun and interesting about that, but also something that kind of takes away the whole aspect of a mummy movie.
Yeah, it makes it more like an Exorcist movie.
Yeah,
I think that is one of the more effective, but also like kind of doesn't work with the rest of the movie parts for me, is the idea of the girl getting kidnapped, because you do eventually get to see like a videotape of like her getting mummified essentially,
Yeah.
and like what they did to her. And that shit made me so upset. Like it genuinely like made me sick watching that.
Yeah, I like the so in the moment the cop lady is showing the mom and the dad the video that she found of the mummification of their child, and they start the movie, and at a certain point they have to pause it and be like, can we even go on watching this stuff?
Yeah, and they're like, well, we have to know what
The
happened.
mom's like, we have to know. I know it's
well, I get that, but like, no, I literally was like wanted to fucking throw up, not because it was gross, but because like I just think that shit is horrifying. Like, to watch a child against their will being.
That's why I thought it was brilliant, because I feel like
by like people doesn't. It's the fact she just doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know what's happening, and they're just like, we have to just like torture this kid. Like it really upset me. But what were you gonna say just now?
Well, I was gonna say it's like. In reality, that's such a crazy messed up thing to happen, and I think in a lot of senses, if there is video evidence of something happening to someone's like child or like family member or something, or the person intimately, it's really rough to see footage or hear even audio of someone like going through actual horror and pain, and I just thought that was like a great part in the movie where it's like that's real horror right there.
I think it's a very effective, horrific part of the film. I don't know. It just felt like I was having a very that was an isolated, different experience than the rest of the movie, where I'm like, yeah, bro, the fucking teeth are falling out, yeah, and maybe I just like. Maybe it does serve to kind of as a sobering moment in the movie. Maybe that is kind of the point. But I do feel like there was a bit of an inconsistency in how it fit. But it's a really fucking frustrating scene, and intentionally so. Like, I think that part. I mean, you just think about like all the bad things that have happened to kids that we know about and that we're continuing to find out about, and that like we're seeing. From people that are in power right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing a clip like that, even though it's fiction. I was just like, it's like there's at least due in part to some of those parallels. It gets you to think about that stuff.
Yeah.
And it gets you to think, shit like this, not actual mummification, but shit like this or worse.
Yeah.
Is really happening.
Yeah.
And there's probably real footage of it out there somewhere.
And it's another kind of tie into like the Faces of Death. Like there's video footage of things like, again, not like mummification, but like things of people going through it online, and you could just look that stuff up and it's right there. And it's like what some people are into that stuff. It's really messed up. And like I think that is kind of like the sobering moment of the movie, because it's like you actually see like what's going on. Like this is what's happening to this is what happened to their daughter, and now they understand like why she is the way that she is. And sometimes people need to, it kind of shows that sometimes people are such in the mind of like seeing is believing, that it's like they need physical proof. They need to see it happen. They need pictures. They need video of it happening, or it didn't happen at all. But then you get actual footage. You get actual pictures of the real things that are happening, and it's like, well, we told you. Like, this is what the whole Epstein stuff. It's like, we told you. We knew this was happening, and the only way for you guys to say, oh, now it's real, is for them to leak all the stuff. And it's like you get and the victims have to be like, again, going through all that stuff, which they wouldn't have to do if people would just believe them in the first place. I don't know. It just kind of shows like what it takes for people to actually understand what other people are going through.
Yeah, it's difficult that we need that.
Yeah,
like, it's this interesting thing where it's like, I don't know. It's interesting how empathy interacts with this kind of, with like watching something that someone shouldn't. I mean, somebody experienced it, so it's, it is kind of our responsibility to get uncomfortable and to kind of to acknowledge it. It's also super difficult to see it, and then there's also the fact that like it's a lot of real horrific stuff is treated with such spectacle now that it's like, it's just interesting to see how people's empathy has been warped and shaped by that.
Yeah, I mean, I think though another thing with the Lee Cronin's The Mummy is that there's a certain thing about selfishness with the movie. Like the father was, they lost the daughter because the father was too busy worrying about himself and his job and how he's looking and how his promotion happened. And then they later on in the movie, they get their child back, but she's obviously not doing well, and they obviously can't really take care of her well enough. But the mom feels like so guilty, and yet she's kind of being selfish in the fact that she wants to keep her child at home, and like she just wants her to be there.
Yeah, she just wants to act like everything's okay.
Yeah, when the Jack Rayner character, Charlie, I think his name is,
yeah.
And he's like, no, we should take her somewhere so that, professionals could like look after her and whatnot. And I think that was selfish of the mom to be like, no, I want her here with me, because they felt so guilty, and like they lost that moment with their like 8 years with their child, and they wanted to kind of keep her there. And I think there's a little bit about letting go with the movie. It's like you gotta there's not much you can do or be convinced about something happening, especially to like your child, where I think you have to let a piece of yourself go for you to have any what do you call it,
like Claire. Sorry. What's the word? I haven't.
I know. I lost the word.
Oh, fucking Jesus! We're so bad at this. Closure.
Yes, there we go. There we go.
Yes,
we both had it and then we lost it. But yeah, there's a sense of closure.
Well,
but I also think the movie.
I think that matches with the, just not to cut you off, but I think that matches with the whole imagery of a mummy in a tomb and like laying something to rest.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. I do think the ending is a bit too like icing on the cakey kind of stuff.
Yeah, because it showed there's, the dad has to make a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just backpedal on it at the end, and they're like, actually we found a way to use the villain and punish her and like switch up. And I think I don't know if it works so well because I think there is a little bit of a yin and yang that they're drawing between the father character and the villain character. I think ultimately the movie is interesting if you look at it through like I would rewatch it just to like pick up on some of these things thematically because the first time I'm just enjoying the horror as well. But I think there is something to be said about maybe like just the way that children are treated and looked after, and like the way that like selfishness and sacrifice, and like we're all worried about like what do we do in this situation, but this child is suffering at the same time, and people are more worried about what they want still. Like the mom is still like, but I just want to keep her at home. Like her pain of losing her child for 8 years was so strong that it kind of clouds her judgment of what to do with her when she's back. And I think there's something to be said about sitting in that discomfort and trying to still do the right thing. That is kind of present throughout this whole movie. So there's a lot of intrigue. I do think it has some very, very cool stuff early on, like the before the title card. You have right after the title card, you have the finger tapping on the wood, which is supposed to be, it looks like it's inside the sarcophagus, tapping, and then the camera turns around and it's the dad tapping Morse code on the table. That was really cool. There's also a scene where the doll flies off the roof and like breaks because the kid is trying to see if she can fly or whatever. It breaks on the ground, and the whole family is like looking down at the doll, right? And then there's a shot of them looking down over the ledge, and it looks like they're looking into a sarcophagus. Like it looks like they're looking into something a tomb they just opened. So there's like a lot of very cool like little images that kind of set up.
I think that's also that's a callback to whenever the grandmother gets flown out of the out of the window,
which is a Shelby Oaks scene.
That's
not
really
intentional,
funny,
but it's literally exactly a scene from Shelby Oaks. Like someone flies out a window, character looking down at them, and they're getting eaten by wolves. That happens exactly in Shelby Oaks.
I think what's the difference between this movie and Shelby Oaks is that Shelby Oaks kind of relies on a lot of the cliches and just the tropes of horror movie isms to the point where it almost feels like there's not enough going on, but it's also there's too much going. Like there's kind of a weird imbalance where this one I think does balance its influences well because it knows exactly what it is being
so it's about awareness.
By.
Sorry, I almost cut you off because I was kind of going to say something similar, because I think it's the fact that Shelby Oaks is what you said is it relies on the tropes. So it uses them as kind of like structure, like it is kind of like formed around that, but around that you have a lot of interesting stuff with the found footage and the YouTube element, and like there's certain things there, certain nuggets there, and some seasoning that is like interesting. Whereas The Mummy, I feel like a lot of the tropey stuff is kind of like a way to get to the meat of the movie, which is the style, the horror, and some of the themes we were talking about that are a little more interesting. So it's kind of like what the movies prioritize and lean on to survive and to function are kind of reversed. Not to even compare these two very different movies, but they have a scene that's exactly the same, so it's really funny.
But I also did find it interesting that this movie, like, you could definitely see the influences from James Wan and Sam Raimi and even William Friedkin for the Exorcist. But for Shelby Oaks, you could see a bunch of influences on that movie, but it doesn't really tackle anyone specifically. It's just kind of an amalgamation of like a bunch of different.
This feels like a more controlled combination. It's like I guess it's just a good movie to use as like a framework of like this is how you do that kind of thing right. Where it's like and Faces of Death too. It's like these are two very derivative movies. There's a lot of shit in these movies where you're like, that's like that, that's like that. But these movies are able to combine them in a way that does feel like a new experience. Like I just think these are really both
They're
valuable
just really fun
and
movies.
fun.
Again, neither of these movies will be in like a top 10 of the year or
No.
any of that, but they are just fun to watch in a theater with people, and you're just having a time.
And it's a great year for horror, really. Like, I mean, I've already seen a lot of horror movies that are yet to come out this year, and I just think it's amazing how it's April. It's not Halloween or anything.
Yeah.
And we've already, I mean, January, right out the gate, 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Just immediately, great movie.
Yeah.
And now we have Exit 8 just came out as well. That was good.
I need to see that one.
Yeah, it was honestly really impressive. And so you have just a lot of, not like all-timers, but just great horror movies coming out weirdly, like all in a row. And then next month is going to be insane for horror, mark my words. Like, it literally has 3 of the greatest horror movies of the year coming out.
So it was interesting. I was talking to a coworker at my movie theater, and they were like, yeah, there's just a bunch of movies coming out where some movies I haven't even heard of, and they were just kind of pointing that out, and I was like, yeah, that's a good thing. This is almost like a resurgence of like what movies should and used to be, whereas in the past few years you would only hear about the big studio movies coming out, and that's all people cared about, and you barely heard or talked about any of the smaller movies or the mid-tier movies. But now there's so much stuff coming out. You could, like, every week you could go to a movie theater and watch a bunch of new movies that are both interesting and great on their own, but are new, and you don't have to rely on like total complete like fluidity in the IP. Like you don't it doesn't need to be like
homework.
Yeah,
what you're saying. I mean, these movies. Yeah, you could watch the original Faces of Death and Scream and Anaconda, and you could watch the other Mummy movies, or some of the James Wan or Sam Raimi films.
But you don't need to.
You don't need to. You'll get more out of it. Yeah. It rewards that, but it doesn't rely on that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we need, is movies that reward you to do your homework and to know the filmmaking influences.
Yeah.
Not you need to watch this so you understand the plot.
Yeah.
It's just because for a young teen or something that's never seen, maybe that didn't grow up on the Conjuring movies like I did, or maybe a person who has never seen or heard of Faces of Death before, maybe they haven't seen Scream or anything like that, but they'll watch these and or they haven't seen De Palma, right?
Yeah.
And they'll watch these and they'll be like, like, what is this? This is an interesting, like, there's a new experience.
This is like the opposite of gatekeeping. It's like the gate opening. It's gate opening into like a different.
Gatekeeping is going to be done by people who know of these things and will be like, "Oh, you're fucking stupid. You didn't know that was Brian De Palma influence. You didn't know that." It's like, just be excited that people are discovering things.
Yeah.
That, like, this is good. This is healthy for people to have. That's the whole point. Like, we don't control when we're born and like what we're exposed to when we grow up. We eventually develop a kind of agency over what we consume, or just like a drive to find like the things we want to see. But a lot of the time, the things we grow up on are shown to us by our parents, or we're just coming out around the time we're growing up. So I just think that these movies, they open the doors for people to like to know about stuff that's important and to see iconic horror movies that paved the way for it. Everybody, I think, needs to watch something that's so heavily influenced by something else and then find that source. I think that oftentimes that's the order of things and not the other way around.
Yeah. I think it is. Movies are back in a sense.
Yeah.
Where it really is that where you could just kind of go out and find a movie you haven't even heard of.
I know people like the there are no original movies anymore. Guys are just really eating their words more and more by the day.
Yeah, because like a decade ago, I think the only things that anybody cared about was like Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and like if it wasn't those top 3 movies, it was kind of like, okay, what else is out? Oh, this movie with The Rock in it. What else is out? I don't know. Like it's like
You had to dig
yeah,
deeper. I think that's really the mark of a great year for film is how deep do you have to dig to find the gems?
yeah,
Not is there gems or not, because I think there always is.
yeah.
I just think it's how far do you have to go to find the movies that you think are worth seeing. Like, oh man, this episode's so fun. I forgot to change the fucking picture.
We could do it in post,
Yeah, I guess so.
or we could do it right now.
I'm gonna do it right now, and then in post I can like fix it. But yeah, I think that about wraps us for these movies. Unless you
Yeah.
have something else you want to add.
No, I thought this was just like really interesting, like week, 2 weeks where two movies came out which are very different from each other, but also are doing kind of similar things at the same time. And you could kind of pick and choose what you think is more interesting, or watch both.
Yeah,
because they're
start
both
your
really
day.
fun.
Like I said, morning showing of The Mummy, have a mimosa. Then right after that, go Faces of Death, have some hard liquor, and just have a good time.
Yeah.
Drink responsibly.
Yeah. Don't drink and drive.
But yeah, great movies. I think really fun stuff. I would put Faces of Death. I'm gonna give 4 apples in the box out of 5, and for Lee Cronin's The Mummy, I would give it 3.5 out of 5.
You know what? I think I'm gonna do the same. I think I feel about the same for both of those movies. I guess a rewatch could change, but I also don't think it will.
Yeah, I think Lee Cronin's The Mummy had more. The 40X enhanced the experience. It had more like. It's a longer film, so I just don't think I would revisit it as much.
Yeah.
It's a little more similar sensory wise to some other horror films I've seen. Faces of Death, I think it's a little more niche. It's got a midnight movie quality that I really like. I feel like I see less movies like that.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Lee Cronin's The Mummy, I've seen a few more movies like that.
Yeah.
That's all it is, really. But
Yeah.
I think they're both very valuable and
Yeah, I
good,
think they're
and you
both-
should see them.
Yeah, they're fun horror movies that if you don't got anything else to watch, right here, you got these two.
And if you also don't have anything else to watch right now, you could go watch our last episode. You could stay tuned for our next episode next Monday. You could also follow us on other platforms, and stay in touch and leave us a comment and rate the show. You could do all of that stuff. And yeah, I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been Peyton,
And I've been Adrian.
and we'll see you next time on the Apple Box.